Iran and Israel continue with their aerial attacks with no signs of de-escalation. US President Donald Trump is allowing 2 weeks for diplomacy before deciding whether to launch a US strike on Iran. In Geneva, meanwhile, Europe is putting forward an offer, a comprehensive offer, it calls, to Iran to end hostilities. That deal, according to French President Emmanuel Macron, involves moving towards zero uranium enrichment. Meanwhile, not all is well in MAGA land, with the Iran conflict threatening to split Trump's voter base.
I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do.
Will he? Won't he? US President Donald Trump is keeping the world on edge as tensions escalate in the Middle East, and it seems to have hit too close to home. As a deepening divide is shaking the core of Trump's once unified voter base, the Make America Great Again movement. The trigger, the brewing possibility of the US joining Israel's strikes against Iran's nuclear program and the president's ambiguity over the matter. The MAGA rift erupted in public view this week, with US Senator Ted Cruz clashed with controversial media personality Tucker Carlson in a fierce interview over US military action in the Middle East, where the latter confronted the senator over his lack of knowledge of Iran, including its population figures. Leading figures of the Trump's MAGA fan club, including Carlson, former advisor Steve Bannon, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, are hitting out against the president, warning that an US intervention in the Middle East could destroy Trump's presidency, signaling betrayal of past promises to avoid American involvement in long-running foreign wars. But Trump's adamant.
Very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me, but nobody thinks it's okay. People that don't want, I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do.
Trouble is brewing in Trump's inner circle. Reports suggest that President Trump has sidelined his star power-led national security team, including National Intelligence Chief Tulsi Gabbard and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, for a small group of experienced aides, including J.D. Vance, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, among others. Gabbard has already been iced out over her position on Iran's nuclear program.
So you've always said that you don't believe Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon, but how close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having it.
Ghosts of Washington's failed interventions in Iraq and Libya haunt the Trump administration. But in 2003, George W. Bush justified his invasion of Iraq, citing intelligence findings. 22 years later, Trump's possible military intervention is not backed by any intel suggesting the Iranians are close to a nuclear bomb. Next 2 weeks will determine the future of Middle East and Trump administration as well. Disha Bakhchi's report for NDTV World.
Now, these are some satellite images that we're showing you of the strike by Israel on Iran. Those hostilities and attacks continue at this point in time after President Trump, though, allowing for some kind of breather room that allows for a 2-week decision for himself to decide if the US will actually join in those strikes with Israel. And in latest news coming in right now, President Emmanuel Macron of France and his European countries are saying that they're prepared to put forward a comprehensive negotiation plan to put an end to hostilities in Iran. Now, foreign ministers from the UK, France, and Germany and the EU all meeting with Iran's foreign minister in Geneva. This is happening in a few hours from now, Friday afternoon, and we'll have more on that as we get those details. Let's get you more on this story now. We are joined by Nicholas Grossman at the University of Illinois. He is also author of a book called Drones and Terrorism. Nicholas, President Trump has helped somewhat diffuse immediate tensions with this 2-week window. But Iran says there will be no talks with the US unless Israel stops bombing. Israel dismissing that, saying that Iran is misleading the world. It's just a waste of time. How do you think things are going to play out?
Well, the in 2 weeks is something that Trump has said for many years when he doesn't seem to really want to give an answer, perhaps know an answer, and is trying to string things along. So, an example from the United States is all the way back in 2016 when he first ran for president. He said he would have this great healthcare plan that everybody would love, and he would release the details in 2 weeks. And he never did. Anytime he was asked about it, he said, "Oh, I'll just give you the details in 2 weeks." And it has been literally 10 years at this point since he first brought that up. So it is possible that this indicates that he doesn't really know what to do or doesn't necessarily want to get involved with military action and would like it to go away. But the problem is, this is not something that's going to go away. So if anybody thought that the United States was about to bomb Iran tomorrow, and were worried about that, then they should feel relieved, because it looks pretty clearly like the United States is not about to do that right away. But as long as the fighting continues, there's still going to be this open question about Iran's nuclear program, its missile program, Israel's actions towards Iran, their relations with each other, not to mention all the larger Middle East issues. And so in 2 weeks, there's still going to be a lot of problems that will come up again for the US to possibly get involved or not.
All right, Nicholas, at the heart of the attack on Iran are claims that Iran is extremely close to building nuclear weapons. People are likening the motive to what happened to Saddam Hussein in Iraq, where, of course, eventually no weapons of mass destruction were found. A sense of deja vu for you. How do you read this?
Well, there are some important differences and some similarities. So I'd say the biggest difference is that Iraq did not have a nuclear program, and at least not an active one at the time, whereas Iran openly has an active nuclear program, things like enriching uranium domestically. And they had been multiple times criticized by the International Atomic Energy Agency via the UN for violating the Nuclear Nonproliferation Treaty. So unlike with Iraq, there really is something there. That said, the Israeli government of Benjamin Netanyahu, and Netanyahu specifically, has claimed that Iran is on the verge of having a bomb. And they've, for at this point, really years that they have made that claim. In fact, Netanyahu, you can see even going back to the 20th century, has made claims along those lines. And other intelligence agencies, including in the United States, have not drawn a similar conclusion. So the question of Iran's nuclear program is real, but the possibility that they were just on the verge of having a bomb is most likely not accurate. And if you parse those statements, what you would see is that the real accusation they were making was that Iran was close to having enough enriched uranium that if it then decided to make a bomb, it would have the fuel for it, but not that they were, say, about to have a nuclear test within days.
Okay, Nicholas, let's talk about regime change. Trump earlier in the week said of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, we are going to take him out, at least for now, basically saying that we won't kill him yet for now. Extremely disturbing remarks there. But if this were to happen, there are really no guarantees that the next supreme leader, right, will be different in any way.
Not at all. So first, there's the possibility if the Iranian government holds together but loses its leadership, and so we have a similar Islamic Republic system but with new leaders, they likely will not have different opinions. And in fact, after having just been attacked by Israel, they will probably be more interested in getting a nuclear weapon because they can see other examples such as North Korea, which has nuclear weapons, and the United States and its allies negotiate with North Korea, whereas Iraq did not have nuclear weapons, and the United States and allies attacked. And so Iran has learned from this, or from the Libya example also, where Gaddafi did not have nuclear weapons, and he got overthrown in part with attacks from Western powers. So they will likely go for it even more. On the other hand, if the regime collapses, as it seems like the Israeli government hopes, then there is no guarantee that there will be something better, certainly not something that's Israel-friendly or America-friendly that rises in its place, or there's a live possibility that if the government collapses, nothing rises in its place, and it is a situation of chaotic power vacuums for a while, and it took the United States and allies years to stabilize Iraq, with occupying it with well over 100,000 troops. And Iran has about twice the population of Iraq and about 3 times the area. So any any attempt to try to
Right.
occupy and pacify an Iranian country that is in chaos is likely to be extremely difficult.
And we'll be closely watching, and so will you. Thank you very much indeed, Nicholas Grossman there from the University of